Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is red.olaughlin, the wise ones on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. I'm truly honored today to have a repeat guest come back to join us on the show. GAIL STOLZENBURG is a personal friend. He and I have been networking in the Houston area for many years, and I find him just a wealth of knowledge on way too many topics that I can barely talk about some days. So, GAIL, please join us.
Thank you so much, Red. Good to see you again.
And GAIL and I have been going to class the last, almost a month, probably last 4 weeks, and learning about artificial intelligence and podcasting and several other things. And the whole crux is to get into a learning mode to be a better business owner, to be a better entrepreneur, a better networker, just a better person in being able to get your message out. So with that, I'm just going to say, let's just start out with business philosophy. I know that's an area that you know exceptionally well. Why don't you give some key thoughts to people who are in the business that may not be working as well, or to people thinking about opening their own business?
Well, I would start off by saying that the one and only reason that you're in business is to help facilitate your lifelong goals. And what that means is that you want to think in terms of how you can help other people instead of looking just strictly at the money side of the business. And one of the best philosophies I know is called Giver's Gain. Bob Berg wrote a great book called The Go Giver. And people laugh sometimes when you tell them that the only way to be successful is to give instead of get. So that is my business philosophy and what I espouse to others, Red.
Bob Berg I've met. I know you've had him on stage. In fact, you probably, anybody who's anybody in the world of networking or entrepreneurialism, you've either been on stage with or introduced, or your experience in that area is tremendous. Who are some of the top people from a business owner perspective that you say, buy this guy's book, watch this guy on YouTube? Who are those people?
Well, years ago, I had a organization called Texas High Achievers, and I brought in some of the top business people, business philosophers, coaches, speakers, authors. And some of those were Dr. Ivan Meisner, who was the founder of BNI. I spent 17 and a half years with BNI. I was an education director for them. And he built BNI to 317,000 members, which is the largest business referral organization in the world. Howard Partridge has been a friend of mine for many years, and when Zig Ziglar knew that he wasn't going to be around too much longer, he hired a consultant to find out what kind of focus his business should have, and they said it should be focused on small business. And he looked around and he found Howard Partridge as his partner. So Howard's now the exclusive international vice president of the Ziglar Corporation. Darren Hardy was another of the individuals that I consider a mentor. He was the founder of Success Magazine. And the list goes on, Red.
I know that when you're introducing a lot of new people, and you talk about in the past we've had this person, you have 25 people in the slide behind you. It's pretty impressive the experience that you've had the chance of either meeting with them, working with them, mentoring with them. Those things are, you know, just spellbinding. But when you start a business or you're in a business for a year or two and things are just starting to go awry for whatever reasons, how do you recognize, is it the fact that you're not getting contacts, you're not getting money, you're not getting paid? How do you know when business is not going the way it should go?
Well, of course, the bottom line is a pretty good indicator there. But the things that I talk about, and I've used Howard Partridge as my business coach. Businesses focus on marketing, sales, leadership, administration, and operations. And most people start businesses because they are a expert in a specific area. It may be technical or operations or whatever. And then they come to the rude awakening that all of a sudden they're going to have to be a marketing person and a salesperson and a leadership person, and all of these things they know that nothing about. So they need to have help. And the biggest key to success in a business is to stop doing it all yourself and surround yourself with people that have that knowledge and experience and so on to build. And that's what I find with most entrepreneurs is if they want to get the job done right, they have to do it themselves. And I think that's one of the bigger mistakes.
Now, surrounding yourself with other mentors, other top-notch people in their field can be simply a matter of reading their books, watching them on YouTube. There's a lot of ways that you can get these experts as opposed to going to their summit. Obviously, going to their seminars is a great way of bonding with other people with similar interest and learning how success was achieved. But it's not one that you have to do from a, let's say you're a single person business owner and you know nothing about marketing. There are so many things out there, small business administration, education classes at a local library, at a local junior college. I mean, I find it to be amazing. 2-3 years before COVID, all of a sudden I'm going back to Houston Community College because this person is speaking at that event and I don't know anything about that, and I need to know, and I need to learn who else is in that same predicament that I'm in, who's wanting to learn. It's a matter of wanting to know more, I think, in order to begin that push over the edge. Our comfort zone doesn't allow us to just go there. We have to be pushed, and sometimes kicking and screaming. Is that a fair assessment?
Unfortunately, it is. And Jim Rohn once said that if you have a formal education, you can make a living. But if you do self-education, you can make a fortune. And most people realize that they learn more after they get out of school than what they did in school. In fact, a lot of people now are reassessing whether or not they need that formal education. I know a doctor or a lawyer or a CPA need to have that formal education, but for others, spending that time in self-education and getting mentors to help you may be a better path.
Networking, one option for getting new clients, helping others in similar fields. You spend a lot of time every week in the networking arena. Tell us a little bit about a typical week for you networking, and what kinds of things are you looking for when you go out networking?
95 or close to that, over 90 anyway, percent of a entrepreneur's new business comes from networking. Now, one of the problems with networking groups are many of them are just social networking. And B&I is a good example of one that focuses on strictly getting referrals. But what I do is I look for groups that are focused on building business and that are not just a social type of organization. So a typical week for me, I have a variety of networking organizations, or maybe just, I should say, organizations, because one of the groups that I attend on a regular basis is called the Senior Estate Concierge. And rather than a networking group, it's actually a resource group that provides services and education for seniors and their families. So you'd find people like an elder attorney, or you might find a assisted living facility, or you might find a Medicare insurance people, everybody that services seniors. And then some of the groups, for instance, the Katy Christian Chamber is an excellent networking group, and it is, of course, building a relationship for people believing in a higher power and that type of thing. And then there's groups that they have no dues, they have no speakers, they don't give away gifts and have drawings. They just focus on networking, like Katy Business Connections. And every week there's over 50 people that get together, and they focus just on setting up one-to-ones with each other and building their business. And then there's one other area. It's a group called the Toolbox Ministries. It has great speakers, and they have over 150. I saw over 200 people last week at their session, and they again are building relationships and doing an outstanding job. Keeps me busy, Ned.
One of the things that I learned from you is when you're going up and I say, "Hi, Gail, nice to meet you. What do you do?" Okay, but that's not necessarily the right approach, because you're not necessarily trying to network to get to know what somebody does right now, this minute, in this networking event. From what I know, and you're preaching about it, is that, okay, let's kind of figure out, is there a connection here that we can help each other? And if there is, let's set an appointment where we're uninterrupted from all other activities. And okay, Thursday at 2:00, and we get together and have some coffee or whatever. And now you have that person's full attention, my full attention, as opposed to trying to remember, what did Gail do? What did he say 10 minutes ago? Because there's so much other activity going on, and you see somebody over there, you want to go, I haven't met that person in a while. I need it. Your mind is not focused. So when you go to a networking event, it's not to tell the world what you do. It's really to select those people that are probably the best prospects that you can sit down and have a one-on-one for 10, 15, 20 minutes or so. Is that kind of the gist of what you've been preaching?
I would say that, Red, sometimes I'll ask somebody, how do you know when your dog is going to be given a bath? How does a dog know when he's going to be given a bath? Because they spend all their time eating, sleeping, and watching you. And they learn your mannerisms, and they learn what your words are. And when they hear you say, let's give the dog a bath, well, they dive underneath the couch. Now, kids are the same way. They study their mother. And then when they find that she's in the right mood, they can go ask for a cookie. Now, you and I are the same way. We listen to the other person's words, and there's some words that raise a red flag. and say, you're trying to sell me something. So, would you like to know what those words are?
Absolutely.
They are I, me, mine, we, us, our. It's talking about yourself. Now, you may be talking to that person and they may be nodding their head and saying, but they're really not listening to you. You've already shut them off by talking about yourself, and they're looking over your shoulder for somebody else that they can see. So, what I suggest to people is write out your introduction and go through and cross out all the I, me, mine, we, us, ours, and replace them with you. You could say something like, do you know how? That creates curiosity. It's just like saying, I just found out. Do you know how most people, well, Red, are you part of most people? Yeah, I guess so. So now you are included in the conversation. You're part of it. So we have the first part, which gives us the curiosity. Then we have the inclusion. And then we present a problem. Do you know how most people have a difficulty introducing themselves? And they nod. And now we must give them the solution. Well, some people know the magic words to keep the conversation going. Now, what do you suppose they're going to ask you next after you saying some people know the magic words to keep the conversation going? They're going to ask you, what are those words? And now you're engaged in a conversation instead of trying to sell each other something. Now, the other thing that I suggest to them is never, ever try to sell people. Instead, all you want is the appointment. So the real part of networking takes place when you get into that one-to-one situation. And there you can do what we have to do, which is that build the relationships. All business and life is about building relationships.
So the relationship is not necessarily that Gail has a problem that I can solve, but Gail knows people with problems that I can solve.
Yes.
And once we have a relationship and I have credibility with Gail, Gail has no problem at all recommending Red as a potential solution expert for that individual or that business.
One of the biggest things that businesses need to do, Red, is to have a referral program, because that's the best source of business when it's coming from someone that already knows you well.
When I first started publishing, I really had no interest in doing it. I was doing it to help somebody. And then a week later, I get a referral from that person. I help that one. The next person I had 5 referrals within 5-6 months. And all I was doing was just helping somebody do one book, get it published. And all of a sudden I realized I can make a whole lot more money for the time involved publishing a book than it takes me to sell 100 books to get, some comparable amount of money. And so all of a sudden, well, maybe I'm in the wrong business, or maybe I need to add that business. So it was a result of referrals that convinced me to get into the book publishing business. And I'm sure that works. Whatever we're doing today doesn't mean pre-COVID and 5 years from now, we're going to be in that same business, because things change to accommodate our customers' needs and what solutions they have.
That's right. That's one of the reasons that we developed that business success challenge, Red, was to be able to help people. And we were talking about networking. That's definitely part of it, where you learn how to give an introduction, or how to do a one-to-one meeting, or how to build a culture or community or whatever. But we also include content marketing in there. So that's social media, where you're working with Facebook or Instagram, blogging, podcasting, YouTube, live streaming like you're doing now, and artificial intelligence. So we cover about AI and prompt engineering and chat box practices and business psychology. And there we go into the mission, the segment, the system, the organization of the business philosophy, goal setting, and so on. So that's what we're all about right now.
We just finished a 4-week program, 3 nights, where you talked about networking and then podcasting and artificial intelligence and stuff. And you're repeating that right now, but you're getting ready to come up to a major program offering that we'll talk about at the end of the show.
Surely.
Those people who are interested in really and truly diving down into something much more valuable to themselves and their clients and their business. But you mentioned,
I'd like to give a lot of credit to Chris Daly, who is my partner in there. He was one of the first podcasters in the world, so got a lot of knowledge.
and Chris is on the show, I think 2 weeks ago or maybe 3 weeks ago. We had a good chat here. And we talked the other night about body language, NLP. And if I'm sitting there listening to you and I'm like this, you know that there's nothing going in here. It's just a facade. But when I'm, when people say things, we look at their body language, their facial expressions, and if they're constantly, looking somewhere else or looking at their phone or whatever it may happen to be, how do you work around distractions when you're networking?
As you mentioned NLP, I just completed another course in NLP, and it's amazing what you can learn about conducting conversations. The most important part of the conversation, they always say that you should spend 70% of your time listening and 30% of your time talking. When you're talking, you should be asking questions. And I think it was Dale Carnegie that said the sweetest sound is the sound of the person's name. So, by the way, that's one of the things that we encourage people to learn and that we teach is how to remember names. So it's like the politicians do. They can meet you 2 years later and remember your name. But that's one of the keys to it. But back to asking the questions, rather than talking about what kind of business I have and so on, I always ask people if we were at a networking meeting, how did you hear about this? And how long have you been doing what you've been doing? What do you like best about it? And what do you like the least about it? Where else do you network? And so there's a series of questions that I go through with people. And the real key to the building of the relationships is the building of trust. If you're spending all your time trying to sell them something, tell them how great your company is and how great your products are and how great you are, then you're losing the battle. But if you find out things about them, the longer you talk to them, there may be some needs that either you can fulfill or that you can make a recommendation on to fill. And the other thing that I always do in talking with people is give them a gift, because it's what we call tit for tat. They feel obligated to give you something back, even if it's just listening to you. For instance, I will tell people that, or I will ask them rather, how would you like to have a list of the top networking events in the area? And I've never had someone say no. And what that means, of course, is that you immediately capture their contact information instead of out there begging them to give you that information. Well, they'll do it automatically for you.
Part of giver's gain, huh?
Yes, giver's gain.
I noticed that when I ask the standard questions, people already know the answers. There's no thought process. They just vomit out something that they've said 200 times. But when you say, who told you about this event? when you start going that you had 4 or 5 or 6 questions that you went down. Those are questions that we don't typically have, and they stop the brain and make you think, well, who did tell me about this? What do I like least about it? Well, usually they ask you, what do you like the most about it? So you're asking a question that now the brains are intersecting with each other, because it's not a question that they've heard before, and they have to stop for a minute and think. One of the questions I ask is, hey, Gail, what do you do for fun? Almost nobody has ever heard that question in a networking event. And I get the stand, well, I work. No, I said, when you're not working, what do you do for fun? And it's interesting that some people, I love to fish, I love to do it, but some people have difficulty figuring out what fun is in their life.
Oh, yeah.
And I find that to be very fascinating.
One of the questions I ask them, Red, is, what's going to be your greatest accomplishment this year? And that is, like you call it, a showstopper. They really have to stop and think about, well, what is going to be my greatest accomplishment? And so you get them on the right track, as opposed to having to listen to them sell you too.
Well, I know over the years you've been on more than a few TV shows, you've had your own, you've been on many, many podcasts. Let's talk just a brief moment or two about podcasting and how that helps a business. What's your perspective on people taking the time to go find the right podcast to be on and establishing some credibility of themselves and their businesses with podcasters?
Well, and you probably learned a lot of this from Chris Daly, but it's all about the content. And if you think in terms of people reading a newspaper, what's the first thing they read? Well, it's a headline. And then they drop down to the sub headline. And if they still like what they're seeing, they will read the article. Now, that same time of thing applies to introductions when you're networking or when you're producing podcasts. And if you're selling in the podcasts, that people won't listen to you. But if you're providing them information and interesting information, then at some point you have done this relationship building by them having trust in you. And when you make a recommendation, they're more apt to follow what you're introducing them to. So you start with the content, and then you can move on to the various ways that you have to communicate with them, whether it's the social media or whatever.
Another case of giver's gain. You're sharing your content. I notice that I meet a lot of people per week networking on various events, and I go to their website. I can't find a phone number. I have to fill in their Calendly deal in order to have a conversation, or I can't find their email. I Google their name. I Google whatever, and I get their website. And on their website, there's no email. It's contact us. You fill in the form. I find that to be rather strange. Is that something that's been existing for a long time and I've just been ignorant of it? Or is this the new fad and everything of you make an appointment with me and we'll do a video together? But the ability to call somebody on the phone or send them an email because I can find their information easily just is, to me, being more and more difficult to find basic information.
Well, part of the reason is that we all get about 500 emails every day. And many of the calls that I get on my phone say spam. And so people don't want to be spammed. So what you have to do is you have to create something that is going to I'm saying, rather than what is your phone number, you tell them about information that you'd have for them, and then you're in position when they say, well, I'd like that, you can say, what's your best text number? And you get it right out. Now, one of the things that I'll see if I can put this up here. Can you see that phone? And
Yes.
can you read over in the corner?
I see contact, add list, add list.
Well, somebody just blew it there, didn't they? Okay.
Still see add list.
What does it show on that side? Am I on
Why
the
don't you
wrong
read to me what
side?
you want me to read to me what you want me to see?
I just wanted you to see the number of contacts on there, Red.
Okay, I did not. I was unable to read it.
Let me see how close I can get to it. It's right there. Boy. Yeah. Anyway, it's over 14,000 contacts there
Okay.
on my phone. So you always want to enter their data in. One of the networking groups that I go to is called Cup of Joy, and no one uses a business card. It's the most amazing thing. Everybody pulls out their phone and they go to LinkedIn and they make the connection there. So I think we're seeing more and more of that about, if I can call them youngsters, and people that are considerably younger than I am, may never call, may never carry a business card. They just do everything on their cell phone.
And when I'm interviewing, they say, make sure we have your whatever information. I get their LinkedIn account. I go to their LinkedIn account and no phone number, only a website, or only, in many cases, only the LinkedIn account, which doesn't tell me anything. So for me to communicate with them, I have to go by LinkedIn message, and which is fine. But to me, it just seems to be a little bit archaic, trying to type out something when I could talk to somebody and be more reasonable. But I see we're running down toward the end, and I know we have this program coming up, and I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the value that our business summit is going to be offering people, and I want to kind of turn that over to you. I know you brought a slide. Maybe we get our production engineer to pull that up for us, and you can talk a little bit about it. So we have enough time to really go over what's going to happen and see how things are going from there.
Well, I appreciate that, Red. And the first question many people will ask is, why a challenge? Well, I mean, we could have used an email, or we could have had a social media post, or we could have done a webinar. But a challenge is a different animal. And what it does is it allows us to interact with the attendees, and we also give them homework. So in the end, they learn so much more when we're using a challenge. And normally we set these up for multiple days because there's so much information you can give away. And we give away that information. I talked a little bit about the 4 topics that we normally use, the networking and the content marketing and the AI and the business philosophy and so on. And so we'll have a series of free sessions. Now, the other thing that we do is we set up a VIP program, and the VIP program is a way to give them more information and to get a recording of the sessions that we're having, and have a workbook that you can follow up on, and then we have we call it a VIP question and answer session that we do after each session. We have a private Business Success Challenge VIP Facebook page, and that is a great tool, a great information session for them. And then we even give them a 30-minute recorded interview. And I don't know if Chris talked a little bit about that, but that is a business tool that they can use to actually market their business. So when they're finished with the free sessions, then we also offer some courses that are paid courses that go into these topics much deeper, and we include some of those NLP things that you talked about that make a major difference in their business, along with a lot of the other information. So on there, you can see that there's going to be a free Zoom session next Tuesday at 7 a.m., 7 p.m., I'm sorry. And there's a link on there where you can, by the way, we'll be focusing in this next week on the networking and on the content marketing sessions. So there's a link on there that you could go to register for that information.
I find it
enough, Red?
Yeah, I find it interesting that just even a little tidbit of information is enough to kind of explode things out. One of the comments made during the artificial intelligence was being able to take a text and have artificial intelligence create a picture. If I want to be hopscotching on the moon, I can be hopscotching on the moon with artificial intelligence. But one of the, I guess, solutions to a problem was I have a YouTube channel and I don't have any icons or any small pictures that gets people's attention. Yet if I take and say, well, this is what this video is about, and I create something from artificial intelligence and I slap it in there, now instead of having a generic nothing there, I have a picture that captures people's attention enough to look at it and say, well, maybe that's something I want. So just a little thing. Now, I took that same concept. I have a client for a book cover. Well, I want this. I want two old people looking at the sunset, and I want their 1900 whatever home in the background, and they need to have what. And so I took the program that Chris gave me, and I said, "Here's what we're doing. We're going to add this and this and this." And okay, I changed the sky, I changed the background, I changed it, and we finally came up with something that's viable now for a designer to take and use as the core of the book cover. Now we add the fonts and the rest of the information to the front and the back, as opposed to saying, here's the title, give me your best thought. And then we go back and forth. So it's saving time, but it's also meeting the client's needs. And I thought, to me, that was an exceptionally valuable night because of just that one that tip that I got.
Right, and Red on the on the VIP Facebook page, you will find, I think there was 15 of those suggestions for improving your AI use on there. So there's a lot of valuable information available to you.
Yeah, because to me, 3, 4, 5 months ago was ChatGPT, ask a question, you get an answer. But there's so many other things now that artificial intelligence can provide. We just need to know, as Chris talked about, you need to become a master prompter of artificial intelligence so that it knows how to respond specifically to what you're asking. And again, ask the question 4, 5, 6, 7 ways to figure out what is the best way that artificial intelligence is going to understand what your need is. So now you went ahead and said your GAILSTOLZENBURG.com/success summit. Is that the way people register for this?
Yes, GAILSTOLZENBURG.com/success challenge.
Okay, so GAIL, typically GAIL, Stolzenburg, a little more difficult, but
Should be on the screen there too, Red.
And we have an audio audience. That's why I like to repeat it, so the audio audience can hear it. So Stolzenburg is STOLZENBURG. So he has an O, an E, and a U in his last name, Stolzenburg. So GAILSTOLZENBURG.com/success summit.
And that phone number is on there too. So.
And that way, if you are interested, the courses we're doing now are free, but down the road, there's going to be a 5 day intensive training that will cost some money, but right now the courses are free. And to me, I've found just an immense amount of value for something that I know a lot about, but I don't know as much as the experts. And that's where we get a chance to sit down. Well, what about this, Gail? Can we do it that way? And you get the information that's needed. So, Gail, I really and truly appreciate you joining me today. Again, Gail Stolzenburg, the connector. Please get in touch with him, Gail at gailstolzenburg.com. Get his networking knowledge that's available for free because he's a giver, and we'll go from there. Gail, any last parting words? 10 seconds to you.
All I can say is having mentors is the important part of your success. And so when you get in contact with guys like red.olaughlin, well, your life will be better.
You're very kind. Thank you very much, Gail. And we'll catch you next week. red.olaughlin signing off for the Wise Ones today on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Very shortly, the next segment I have is called Talking Heads. I started a series a few weeks ago, STEP, typically more oriented toward the sciences and the technology and engineering and those things. But I took and applied it to longevity, to our physical health. And I'm looking at stress and toxins and emotions and mental. And I'm in the process now of talking about toxins and how can you avoid them. So please join me on the USA Global TV and Radio Network on the Talking Head Show. And today we're talking about toxins, how to avoid them. Take care. Bye now.
This program is brought to you in part by the British School of Excellence and founder, Mr. Philip Sykes. Building confidence, changing lives. Do you share our view that etiquette is a set of modern life skills that are essential for personal and professional success? Join us as an etiquette coach and change people's lives through the power of etiquette and manners.
The last few days have been really amazing. I had a trainer course from the British School of Etiquette.
And I must say it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made and one of the best investments I've made in my own training and development.
Now, words alone will not describe the transformation and the positive path that I have traveled with the British School of Etiquette.
I found I learned a lot from the lessons this time I came.
The last few days with the British School of Etiquette have been fantastic.
And what I've learned now is really beyond my expectations.
This is the most rewarding experience and the best investment I have made this year.
It was just great. I learned so much, and when I go back to Belgium I will incorporate a lot of it into my day-to-day life and business.
It's been absolutely wonderful for the whole week that we were here.
I feel transformed, and I feel like blowing a trumpet and tell people, come and do this school, this class is the best, this is the best school ever.
You should take it. It will change your life immediately.
I am now able to teach other people how to bring the best of them.
Thank you.
Thank you, BSC.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to our clients for their testimonials on the Train the Trainer program. Our exponential and global growth is so significant that we have evolved from the British School of Etiquette to the British School of Excellence, where we're investors in people. Let us invest in you and your career. Contact us to become an etiquette coach. Go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. Start your career and elevate your success today.